Welcome to Washington, East to West Sports. This is episode 121. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Kevin Ardahl and Sean Beatty. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet us. I'm at Beatty_Matt. Sean is at NastyBilly22. Kevin is at C2Believe. That's SEA2Believe on X or Twitter. There's a cat currently digging through my hockey stuff. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and let us know what you think in the comments about the topics we talk about. Let's start with Decision Day on Sunday. That is right. The Seattle Sounders have their final regular season game on Saturday, and they take on the Portland. Boy, why did I just blank on that name right there?
Portland Timbers?
Portland Timbers. Yes.
I thought you
Uh,
froze. I was like,
I
what? I was like,
I was
I was about to be like, did the internet
I was
back
about to
out?
say I was about to say Thorns. I'm like, that's not right. Wait, what is it? Not Blazers. Yeah, Timbers. They are currently sitting in the 3 seed in the Western Conference, and I'm not sure if they can move up. I'll look here on
No,
the
they're either
standings.
they're the three,
They're
they're the
locked
three or
in
the three or the four. Well,
three of the
three
four.
or four. That's
Okay,
it.
so they are locked into the playoffs at the very least at the 3 or 4 seed. So, Sean, have you been watching some Sounders, and what have you thought of their season?
I have. We talked about them early in the season where they weren't doing so hot. But I always thought there was more talent. The offense was the part that I actually was the most confident in, and it was the part that wasn't showing up. And then when it showed up, surprise, surprise, climb all the way up to third again. We were last for a while there at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I thought this is exactly who I thought the team would be. Just started off slow. So being third, I thought maybe probably second was probably what I thought coming into the season what they'd be, but the slow start did cost them maybe a spot or maybe two. Depending on how Sunday goes, but totally right in line with what it should have been.
I haven't been able to watch much Sounders, unfortunately. Just I don't have that on Apple TV. I do have Apple
You,
TV. It just don't have
I
the
was gonna
Apple
say
TV Plus
there's that
program.
package. Yeah, there's that
Yeah,
package.
and I don't watch enough MLS to pay more for that. But Jordan Morris looks like he's doing very well. And I did hear that Raul Ruidiaz is not coming back. He is getting a little bit older, but that is kind of disappointing because he's been such a big part of this team for quite a long time. So hopefully he either calls it or ends up in a spot that really appreciates him. Albert Rusnak is playing well, so that's good to see. He's up there in some points. Rui Diaz has still had some goals, so we'll see how this team does. But like Sean said, they were struggling early, but have propelled themselves into a nice little playoff spot here. Sounders haven't had as much playoff success recently, but get in and they do 2 legs usually, so it's any team's game out there. Kevin, have you been watching any European football?
I have not, unfortunately. Not enough time to. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, let's root on the Sounders on Saturday and see where they end up. And hopefully we can get some playoff games that are not on Apple TV, but I'm not going to hold my breath for that one. So if you have Apple TV, please tune in to the Sounders on Saturday. And then for their playoff run, let's talk about some National Hockey League. That's right. The Seattle Kraken played today, actually, and won 7-3 in Nashville to wrap up their 3-game road trip. After opening the season at home against the St. Louis Blues, losing 3-2, they beat the Minnesota Wild 5-4 in a shootout, and then lost on Sunday to the Dallas Stars 2-0 before the 7-3 win tonight. Sean, have you watched any Kraken hockey lately?
I did.
Also, they're
Um,
on Prime, so if I know a lot of you out there have Prime, so watch the hockey, Kraken hockey.
ESPN Plus is really nice actually for that, and
That
most
too,
of them
that too.
since they I don't know what it's going on this year, but they a lot of the games, at least so far, I don't know how it's been. It'll be in the future. I know Root Sports had their kind of like upheaval and everything like that, and we talk about what it affected the Mariners, but they've been on ESPN Plus a lot more, and I didn't get to watch them as
They're
much
not blacked
because
out, or
they're not blacked out. They're actually on ESPN Plus, so yeah, I don't have to
okay.
watch them for Root. I mean, it's been that way so far this season. I haven't been able to watch them all. I watched, I think, two of their 4 games, and I guess two and a half. I tonight was like I was really watching the Sharks play at the same time, puck drop at the same time. So I was watching the Sharks, but I was also had an eye on the Kraken as well. And I was a little nervous at the start because every time I would look over, the Kraken would have a 1 goal lead, and then immediately, oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank. Nashville would score again right off the right, and it'd tie every time. And so I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And then they eventually took control of the game, but in the third. But yeah, it was the Kraken are uh, what do you say, Matthew? They're what 2-2 right now, 4 points.
Yeah,
They're about like
they're fine.
what we thought they would be, though. You know what I mean? Like they're they're right there. They're you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like
yeah.
they're
I
there.
mean, yeah,
And I mean, we're 4 games in the season and everything like that. But look, actually, I sorted it by I called them the last team out, and that is exactly where they are right now. They are not. I guess how they got there is a little different. They're scoring quite a bit. I mean, it's largely held up by the one game. Uh, but their goals, I think, is what they need to keep down because I don't think they could keep scoring this way. They did lose to the Blues on opening night, which was super weird. They were the first puck drop in the North America, but on this continent, but at like 1:30 during a weekday. But it was a good game because but the Blues kind of like are notoriously like for to start the season like come back at the end in the third period. They did it to the Sharks like 2 days later. They're down a couple goals and they came back 3 goals actually. And so like doing that to the Blues, it seems like that's just who the Blues are. So I wouldn't take too much stock into that one. And losing 2-0 to the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars are just a really good hockey team, and they're probably didn't you pick them to be in the Stanley Cup, Matthew?
I did. I did.
Yeah, so like they're super good, and you won 5-4 to the Wilds and beat the Predators. So you've played, I would say, one good team. I don't think the Blues are very good, but it's a fluky like comeback win. It's fine, and you've won the other 2 games that probably I wouldn't say they're. We could talk about it later, like Kevin, like this, like the Giants. Maybe they're not the Giants level bad, but like they're teams that you should probably beat. You know, like oh, who did play week one? Who did the Seahawks play week one?
Broncos.
Broncos are kind of bad. Patriots, they're pretty bad too. Maybe the Giants, like like teams like that. They beat the teams they should be beating minus the one game. But when you play 82 games, you're going to lose more of those should win games than in the NFL. So you're the Kraken look totally fine. Look totally fine. Just tighten up the goals allowed a little bit. That's all I would ask for.
Yeah, I was at work on Tuesday, and I remember they dropped the puck at 1:30, and I'd gotten out of a meeting in the afternoon, and I was like, oh, I'll turn it on, I'll do some busy work while I watch the game. And it was 2-0 Kraken in the middle of the second period. I'm like, cool. And then the Blues scored 3 goals in under 2 minutes, and I was like, well, I'm gonna turn this off. So I apologize to the Kraken for turning the game on and
No,
ruining
no, hold on.
everything.
Did
So
you see them score?
I
Crack.
watched all three Blues
Okay,
goals.
because I literally did the same thing too. I turned it on, and literally 15 seconds later, the Blues scored, and
Yeah,
and I was like, "What did I just do?" And I immediately
yeah,
turned it on, and then the Blues didn't score again. So
yeah.
clearly, it was me and you because I was like, I watched about like 2.5 minutes of that first game, and it was like the 2.5 minutes where the Blues scored all their goals.
Yep. I was like, I'm gonna go back to podcasts, actually. I'm not gonna do that
It
right now.
was it was
So
it was awful. It was awful.
and then I did tune into the Wild game, the third period, and the shootout and overtime. And the Kraken held their own. Wild are, I'm not really sure. They've been hot and cold. I'm not sure how good they are this year. Dallas is supposed to be pretty good. So that loss, especially coming off of a game the previous night in Minnesota, flying down to Dallas to play a game, that's a pretty tall task to do. So,
And
and
they're
then
4-0.
they went to,
Like
they went
they're just a good team. They're
they
just a
went to
really good team.
Nashville today, and Nashville, they added a lot of free agents. I think they should be good, but we'll see there too. So, 2-2 to start the season. It's very early, hard to really say what they are, but they do come home on Thursday to take on the Philadelphia Flyers, and they're taking on Calgary, Colorado, Winnipeg, and Carolina to wrap up the 5-game homestand, which I will be at the Carolina game, by the way, so we'll have a live report on that one. But
It's early, Matthew, when the technically right now the lowest 2 teams in the league are Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers. I would bet a lot of people don't think those will be the worst 2 teams come end of the season.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. So it's
We've all
very
seen Connor
early.
McDavid get angry and yell at people on his new Amazon show.
Did
So
you
on
watch any of that Amazon show
I've seen
or?
like part of it. It is my next show to watch actually
Okay.
on Amazon. So, but yes, it is on my to watch list. But I've seen like all the trailers and him yell. So I don't think he's going to take too kindly to losing some games. So I think they'll. Actually, they're playing right now. I don't know the scores, but I assume he will not let this continue.
Kevin, have you watched
They are losing.
any Kraken hockey
They are losing.
I
so
have
far this
not, but
season?
I have been paying attention to like the final scores and stuff like that, and just keeping pace on win and loss. So
Do you have Prime Video?
I do.
Hey, you can watch most of the games, so that's good
There
right
you go.
there. Um, all right, well, let's talk about a little bit of some of their news. So we didn't know who the captain's going to be until the game started, and Jordan Eberle has the C on his jersey. So, Sean, what did you think of Jordan Eberle being named the second captain in team history?
Um, that's fine. I didn't really have like someone in mind that I thought would be better. I was kind of waiting for Maddie to take it last year, and we all talked about how his year went last year. But if the team thinks that Jordan is the right guy, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. What do you
Yeah,
think, Matthew?
I would agree with that. I figured it would be him, maybe McCann,
Yeah, I was
maybe
him or McCann, but I was like, it's a coin flip. I don't,
maybe Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, or something like that. But I'm not surprised at all by the Eberle pick, and he's very much a good team leader. So one of the veterans in that room as well. So I think that's a solid pick. Then the other news from the Kraken, I believe a couple days ago, Joey Daccord signed a 5-year, $25 million extension. What do you think of this news, Sean?
I I don't. It's not a ton of money. It's five a year. But it's in hockey terms that's not as small of a number as some might think. So I'm a little. Didn't he get lit up like the next day or something like that? Like he gave up a bunch of goals. Was he the goaltender in the Minnesota Wild game where they gave up four? I
I
can't
don't know.
remember,
Let's
but
see.
because Grubauer I believe has played pretty well to start the season if I remember correctly. Because the games I've watched he's done pretty well. So, but
Yeah, Joey was in net for 5-4, the win against Minnesota.
yeah. So I like Joey, but paying a backup goalie, five and five, it's fine. It's a little overpriced. I'd probably do 5 and 3. It's up to me, but it's not up to me, and it's up to Joey. So if that's what they negotiated, that's what they negotiated. It's not gonna kill you, but slight overpay, slight.
I mean, he was entering the final year of his 2-year deal, and I think what this would tell me is that they are probably not bringing Grubauer back after his 5-year deal that he signed when this team was started. So he's in year 4. I would imagine that they are probably going to move on from Grubauer after his
But like,
contract
but then the,
expires.
the issue then comes to like it'll be so Grubauer has this year and one more year, right?
Yes.
So Joey's gonna be the full time guy at 30. I don't like, and then what? And it's in the NHL, so it's kind of like someone at best case scenario, you're playing 70-30 or 60-40 in today's NHL. Let's say he plays 70-30, you don't have the other guy. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, I, paying the guy that you're just like, okay, he's a nice little backup piece, but now you don't have another piece. I just like, that's where I'm like, where's the other shoe? Another shoe has to be coming, and I don't know if it's in the wings. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's in the.
Yeah, I think Grubauer had his one playoff run, but other than that, I don't think he's lived up to his contract for the most part. And I think that this would indicate that they want to have Daccord be the starter, who's 28. This is a 5-year deal, so I think he is going to be the starter, like coming onto that 70-30 track. And then I imagine they are eyeing either players in the draft or they are looking at Coachella Valley and saying, "Look, we're going to develop you to be the guy behind Joey once Grubauer moves on." And we'll see what they do because I'm not really sure what they have in their system totally. So I don't know what their goalie prospects look like, but I think it's a position where it's similar. I would say it's similar to quarterback where you only want one guy, but if you have a guy that you can go to like when you want to try and get something going or you want to give him a night off. Hockey is a sport where you can give your guy
Yeah,
a night off.
it's a sport where it's a quarterback, but there's like four guys in the NHL who you're like, that's my guy 80% of the games. And at the best case scenario, you have to play another guy 20%. And so, but most of the times it's closer to 60-40 at this point in the NHL. It's just how it works because there's so few dudes. Because again, it's like a bullpen for the Major League Baseball. It is such an ebb and flow every single year that when you have a guy, you pay him. And even then, even if you think it, like we talked about, Martin Jones was a goalie for the Kraken just a little bit ago. The Sharks thought he was a guy and paid him a lot of money. He was good, and it was good for 1 year of that deal. And then they're still buying out that deal. That's how bad it went very, very quickly. So it's just like I just like I don't want to say like paying somebody that's going to turn a pumpkin. Not all goalies turn to pumpkins, but it's just like a 28-year-old paying him for 5 years, 5 million. It's again not going to break it, slight overpay, but it's not the end of the world. But I'm just like, I don't see what it really does for you. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know. It's like okay, like I just I need the Kraken to like move a needle somewhere. And I get maybe like not in the season or anything, but we've talked about it. You need dudes, you need playmakers, you need guys, and I'm like. I always saving all my money for free agents, for signing guys, to getting dudes in this building to help really move the needle and then work around there. And to your point, Matthew, of like Coachella, what's down there, and the what's down at lower levels, like it's like starting pitching at the trade deadline. Everybody wants one. There's like four teams who don't need one, and unfortunately, the Sharks traded for the only good minor league goalie there that was even willing to move. So there's just nothing. There's nothing in the minors for almost any of the teams, and they're hardly ever willing to move. So um, yeah, it's just hard, and that's why I'm like, there's no real safety net if Joey, and I both think we both agree move on from Grubauer in 2 years, and Grubauer for 2 years is fine, but like after that, it's just like well, we got to start making a decision now. Like it's going to take a couple years to develop a guy, and I just don't see where it's coming from and what you're going to do. Are you going to sign like like these Martin Jones type things? Because that's just not going to work. That's just not. It's not been working, and then you have to sign him too, and he's not going to be cheap. And you've already paid Joey. Like I guess I just need Joey to take that step. I just need it. He had showed real flashes last year, but when you're a dude and you're gonna be the guy that's gonna have to play 70% of the games, I don't know if he's that guy. And giving him 5 years, it just screams like Martin Jones for me. You know what I mean? Like I don't want Kraken to go through
You
that with
have
what
PTSD, and I
I
understand.
do. It does, and it was just really bad. It was so bad, and I just don't want the Kraken to like regret. Again, it's 25 million. It's not gonna bank you, but like you're locking them in for 5 years. So just I don't want to Kraken be doing
I
a
mean, they did that with
Montreal.
Philip. It seems like that might be their standard for who they want as the guy.
Philip was like,
I
that was like your big signing when you were an expansion team. So I get it. You know what I mean? Like you needed somebody. He was coming off. He was more of a product of the Avalanche being super good because as you've seen, the Avalanche just replaced. They're just a machine. It's more like the people in front and the system. And Grubauer's not like bad, but it's just like it's more up there. And again, that deal's not sinking you, but it's just like I need the Kraken to not like just sign guys and be fine. I need, you know what I mean? I've been requesting like, dudes, do something, make a big splash, do something. And it's like, if we're gonna keep just being fine, we're gonna keep being the last team out. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I need the
well, I
step.
do
Like
understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I think that there is something to be said about paying a guy who has been solid, who you think can be part of the future, and taking a chance because at the end of the day, I'm never going to fault the player for taking as much money as they can get.
no,
Joey, get your
this
bag.
is not on
But
Joey.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
more on the
Now, from the
Kraken's like
Kraken
yeah.
perspective, I think they're trying to, at the very least, have him at the position for the next 5 years, and then see where the draft, see where free agency goes, because there's a lot of variables to maybe potentially getting a guy or getting a dude, and at the very least if you have your goalie position somewhat secure and Joey is ends up being solid for this contract, then you're fine, and then hopefully you can have some money down the road to get a dude because you're not spending Jeremy Swayman money on him. You're not spending,
No, but he's
Linus
not Jeremy
Hallmark money on.
Swayman.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
doesn't have Jeremy
But
Swayman numbers too. Like that's
absolutely. But
yeah.
you're not spending that much, and you're locking
Yeah.
in a guy who you think is going to be maybe not elite, but solid for years to come for you. So
Yeah. It,
so
it
we'll
was just
see.
his first season playing more than like he's played one season of more than 9 games, and I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh man, you gave him a 5 year deal after his first game of more than 9 games. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, and that's why I'm just maybe you're right. I have PTSD from Martin Jones, and I'm just worried for you guys.
It's
Hopefully,
fair.
Joey's amazing, and then it's not even an issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, let us know what you think of the Kraken go between us. I'm at Bear Score Matt. Sean is at Nasty Billy 22. Kevin is at SEA to believe. That's C to believe. Let's talk briefly about the Seattle Mariners because apparently prospects play all year round in the
Some
fall
prospects,
league. And huh?
some prospects.
Some prospects. Okay, so do we have any prospect report? Because JT was pretty jazzed about the Arizona Fall League. So
Yeah, well, me and Kevin have been sharing things, and I know Kevin, you shared something in the chat we have together. Cole Emerson, I can't remember the exact words what Baseball America said is he's like red bleeping hot or something like that. Cole Emerson, the guy who's finished the season at the Ever Aqua Sox High A, he's like Kevin, correct me, what is he up? 26th overall in baseball prospect?
Some of
First
the,
round.
yeah, yeah, he's definitely top 50.
I was
Uh,
gonna say he's like I
he's
think he ended,
close to top 25.
yeah, I think he ended 26. He's the number one Mariners prospect, depending on which one you go to. But I think it's Baseball America. He's the highest Mariners one. He's 19 years old, won't turn 20 for a while. So Matthew, I'm sorry, like I know you want these guys now, but he is will not be 20 till the All Star break next year. I don't know if you're going to see him before he can legally drink, but you might have to wait a little bit. But if he keeps playing like this in the Arizona Fall League, so Arizona Fall League, Matthew, you have to be invited to play. Certain players are going. He's there, and he's clearly been the best hitter. He got on base last I saw 3 more times again today. I don't know,
Yeah, he was 2 for 5 today with and he had 2 stolen bases today.
and he had at least one walk. I know that.
And
So
he had
that
a
was
walk. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
three. Yeah, so 3 for 6. So 500 on base is pretty solid. Turns out, you got on base half your times. That's pretty good. Yeah, he's been absolutely tearing up Arizona Fall League. So they have a couple other guys who've been actually pretty well. They've had a couple pitchers go, but he's the talk of all of baseball right now. So Colt Emerson in the Arizona Fall League, just killing it right now.
any other prospects to mention?
Um, Arroyo's been bats right behind him and on his team. And they do it like kind of randomized. So actually, Mariners prospect, I can't remember his name, Jared something. I can't remember.
Sunstrom.
Or a pitcher actually.
Oh, pitcher, but oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he pitched and actually struck out Cole Emerson and Michael Arroyo, I believe, back to back. And he's been also people have been talking about him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's
Oh,
been kind of
Jason Ruffcorn.
yeah, so yeah, I
Mhm.
believe that. I think that
Yeah.
sounds familiar. But yeah, he was also kind of a guy, an unknown guy that got invited, and he's been looking pretty good too. So
Mhm.
everyone looks at Mariners pitching prospects when they get invited to one of these things because somebody the industry knows something. So uh, yeah, the Mariners are they're looking pretty nice in Arizona Fall League. So and they invited their kids too, like not some of these 23-year-olds who are like, yeah, you're gonna tear it up. It's these they're invited a bunch of 19-year-olds, and they're holding their own against some of these pitching prospects. So it's nice to see.
All right, well,
Mhm.
the biggest baseball news, the Savannah Bananas are coming to T-Mobile Park September 19th and 20th next year. Any interest? The tickets go on sale November 1st. That is insane. I don't know how popular they are, but
They sell out.
It's
I know they're going to sell out, but do I need to buy them like immediately, like
I don't know if it's
10 months
immediately.
out?
I don't know if it's immediately. But not immediately, but every time they go, like they sell out all their stadiums they go to.
yeah.
Like they went to the
You'll be able
Ash.
to find tickets, but the resale rate might be like
Yeah, they went to the Astros and somewhere else, Kevin. I don't remember where they went. They went to a couple major league stadiums this year, and yeah, they sell out.
Mhm.
Like
What even day is that? Let's see on the
oh,
calendar. Oh, that's a Friday, Saturday. Okay.
yeah, I was gonna say
Ah.
they're pretty smart about it. So yeah, they're. I would love to go. I might be more excited to spend money on the Savannah Bananas this year than the
Yeah.
Mariners. But again, the ownership's going to get the money for that stadium. If you spend money there, they're going to get the money for it. So you're just giving money to stand anyways. But I'd be pretty excited to actually go see them because the Mariners do have two technical Savannah Bananas on their roster. So
Who are those?
I can't remember one of them, but Cade Marlowe is the other one. Cade Marlowe was a Savannah Banana.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
Grand Salami in the majors too. He's Cade Marlowe.
we're gonna have to talk about a podcast trip to Savannah Bananas
Yeah.
next year. All
So you
right.
never know.
Well,
Maybe Major League Baseball players might be playing for the Savannah
that's
Bananas.
true. That's true. All right. Well, let's get on to some American football, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. Since our last podcast, they lost to the New York Giants 29 to 20 at home, and then 5 days later lost to the San Francisco 49ers 36 to 24. Kevin's been on the sidelines for a lot of this podcast. Kevin, get in here. Tell us what you thought of the Seattle Seahawks these past 2 games.
Oh yeah.
Keep it like 1x. You
N-
don't not 3x.
What's wrong with 3X? I want the animation here, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean all in all it's of course not been good to lose. The 49er one I was a little bit more I thought it was going to be kind of along that line. Um, I think I gave the score a little closer, but it didn't surprise me that it was what it was. And I'll get into that in a bit. The Giants game was a little bit of a stunner, to be honest, because we made Daniel Jones look like a good quarterback when he's not. And we made a backup running back go for over 100 and what 38 yards, I think it was.
No, you idiot. 129.
120. Oh shoot, that was nine off. Yeah. But yeah, it was bad. Like we made their that ter I mean, they didn't even have their top wide receiver too, and we just I mean, we were plagued injury wise, but it just kind of shows you that our depth up in the front seven is not good. It's very, very bad. Um, and that's with our starters at front seven still like working things out. Like I think it's better than what you saw in the last two games. Um, but it's also really hard to tell because in the first three games we didn't really go against like good players and then they got hurt. So it'll be interesting to see what they do against like better players when they come back. But other than I think Byron Murphy will be fine. I think Byron Murphy is a stud. I think he's a solid football player. But yeah, the front seven kind of got a little bit embarrassed. Schematically we were a little kind of off everywhere. Um Offensively, our O line on the right hand side, aka Stone Forsythe, is honestly this water bottle that I'm holding in my hand is a better O lineman than Stone Forsythe. There's actually even Seahawk conspiracy theories that Stone Forsythe is like against it. I just
I love a good conspiracy theory.
What?
yeah, I'll kind of I didn't get to like listen to the audio, but it popped up in my feed while you guys were talking about that. I was like, oh, well, makes sense. Stone Forsythe is a hot pile of trash, and which is weird because he's a big dude, but that doesn't mean that you're good at O-line. And people t took advantage of it. Like the guy that got 7 sacks against us, and yeah. Um, so Abe Lucas, please get healthy soon. Or, I mean, honestly, you signed Jason Peters. Just he's better. I don't care if he's not warm. He's better than Sterling Forsythe at this moment, probably. Just put him out there. Put him out there at right tackle. Because Stone Forsythe is hot garbage, just pure hot garbage. Now the right guard, which is what Tomlinson, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln Tomlinson, yeah.
Yeah,
Or no,
is
that he's
Wait,
the
that's
left
Bradford.
guard.
That's
Yeah,
Bradford. Yeah.
Lincoln is the
Brad,
left guard. Bradford's
Gotcha.
the right guard. Yeah.
Bradford has not been playing the best either. But I imagine that's also due to the fact that just Stone Forsythe is blocking absolutely nothing, and a lot of it's coming on inside, to where it kind of affects his grade maybe a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell with different metrics and who's measuring it, ESPN versus like all the pro football talk and whatnot. But yeah. So um DK Metcalf needs honestly at this point I gotta talk about DK. Um DK Metcalf, you're a fifth year receiver, right? Or is he fourth year?
No,
Fifth.
he's
Yeah,
definitely
he's
gonna be
fifth.
one or
Okay.
four.
He's acting like a first year receiver. And that needs to stop. Um you're huge, bro. Like, and I talked about this in the podcast like 2, 3 years ago. Like, you need to learn how to use your body to shut out corners for short. Like, I don't give a crap about the speed part. The speed and the down route, that's cool if it happens, but like that makes you a very incomplete receiver. Like you're essentially a home run guy now, which is not good for what you have been brought in to do and your body size and type. Like you want to compare yourself to Calvin Johnson, where you're not even a fourth of what Calvin Johnson was. Like Calvin Johnson was such a threat because Calvin Johnson could stick 8 to 10 yard routes and use his body to body out two corners, like a corner and a safety, and still make those catches to where we can get first downs. Whereas you don't know how to use your body to do that at all, and you're getting punked by like 5'10" corners that weigh like 195. Like I it's and then when you don't get the ball or when you fumbled twice in back-to-back games or once in back-to-back games, but twice overall. You play pouty emo boy that just sits on the sideline and pouts. Like we cannot have that. You're a grown ass man. Act like a grown ass man. Apologize for the language, but like he's not worth the money if he's going to be just a flash in the pan like dude that like just goes off, you know. I know he's fourth in receiving yards, but that's because he just is he's a bigger Tyreek Hill kind of. He's
The
just that.
Seahawks throw a billion times a game. That's why he's fourth
Yes. And
receiving.
he just gets a lucky like they get in coverage where they find out it's man to man and then he gets that big explosive play, which is really nice. But like, I need you to be the dude, essentially, especially as Tyler gets older. Like, you got to be able, it can't just be all on Tyler just to get these shortcuts. And I get JSN, but I get that JSN is wanting, sorry, my dog wants to play football now. I'm talking about football. Um, JSN is there too, but like when you need that JSN doesn't have that big body, and when the coverage is on you, like you got, and you're the one that's kind of in the design play or something like that. But then it's also kind of a little bit on the scheming, and then also a little bit on Gino too. Like you can't, like if they have him doubled and he's not able to use his body to open that up, you need to find something else. Like, but that's the hard part too, is then like you know you don't have that time with the O line, so then Grubb needs to dial up some other stuff that is not like if you see that Metcalf is getting doubled, like you need to dial up some stuff where like JSN and Tyler are the first reads. Like instead of just going to DK Metcalf and now you've wasted 2 of your 3 seconds that you have until Stone Forsythe coughs up another sack to progress in your next read and then you're getting tackled by freaking MAGA boy. What's his name on the Nick whatever
Okay.
Bosa.
Bosa. It's essentially you just can't do that like at all. Like you just gotta. So it's a little, like I said, it's not all. It's a trickling of different pieces. Mainly with the key thing being still far inside being a hot pile of garbage. Like honestly, one of us three could go in there and probably block better then like at least can use scare tactics to try to scare off the edge rusher to get by an extra like half second than what
Oh, I'm
Stone.
going for the knees. I'm not gonna try and get in the
Yeah,
way. I'm just
like
going for the knees.
I would just say something, be like, "Hey, your mom's behind you," or something like that, just to try to distract them, or be like, "Oh, your fly is unzipped," or something like that. But it's not great. 49er game. Uh, Along with a combo of like same with the with the Giants game, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot. Like just a lot of sloppy play. A lot of sloppy play. It was a little bit more on Gino probably in the 49er game, but also that defense is better too. So it's a little mixture of each, but also I know that like I know in Gino's mind he's like I don't have time because like Nick Bosa's coming on the right and I know Stone Forsythe ain't blocking shit. But then that's up to Grubb like you need to put two like a tight end or two tight ends over there or a tight end and a running back on that side to like buy that boy some time. Like because Charles Cross is playing fine on the left. Um Left side's looking okay. It's just the right is looking really bad. Um, so all in all, yeah, should they have ran the ball more? Here's the thing too with Grubb. It's yes, but like you need to go with what the defense is giving you, not be like, okay, I need to feed. We after the Giants game, I need to feed him more. So I'm just gonna force runs. And it's like, no, you need to look at actually what the defense is fucking giving you. And sorry, and just go base off that. Like this is what play action is for. This is what you know, pre-snap, calls out for just or like shifts and stuff like that to see if they're in zone, to see if they're in man, to see, fake hikes to see if somebody's gonna, they're scheming something to where someone's hiding and is gonna blitz to try to bait that type of stuff out. Um, and we're just not doing that. Like we force a lot of canine runs that just didn't go anywhere because one, bad blocking because Stone Forsythe sucks. And two, just like the defensive scheme, like you got to see what's up, and you got to know what you're going against. Like you can't be like, okay, we didn't run the ball against the Giants, so we're going to run the ball against when they have that front seven, it's like you can't do that type of, I mean, yes, you do need to run the ball more, but you need to be a little bit more creative and more schematic, I guess you could say, when it comes to that. A little bit, drop a little bit better plan versus just we're gonna run the ball. Like, um, but yeah, as long as hopefully this bye week kind of helps. I mean, I say bye week because it's essentially kind of a bye week. It's a mini bye week. Helps to where we can get some pieces back. Hopefully Reek's back. Hopefully Byron Murphy's back. Those are like the two that I definitely think are probably. And also, I don't know if Phil, what's his name? Not Phil. I want to say Phil Haynes, but it's not Phil Haynes. The
Christian
uh,
Haynes?
no. The nickel corner. Shoot. He got hurt in the 49er game, and I don't know if he came back. He's the small one, or the smaller corner, but he's actually kind of solid. We've
Trey
had him.
Brown?
Trey Brown. Yeah, I knew it was. I don't know why I was
I
thinking.
was like Haynes. I
Yeah,
was like,
Phil. I
what?
was like,
I don't
Phil.
know. I'm
We
feeling
don't
Phil
have any.
Haynes. He's a former
Phil.
left guard. I'm like, what
We
am I
put Jeremiah
smoking?
Pritchett out there on
No.
Thursday.
Pritchett, for what he, going in, did okay-ish. Um, could have been better, could have been worse, but I know he's a rookie, so it's kind of like trial by fire, like a little bit, and especially against those weapons. That's another thing fans need to like remember too, is the 49ers are very good, even without Christian McCaffrey. You have Kittle, you have Ayuk, you have Debo, you have Trent Williams on the left. I mean, that O-line's good to where the run game is just going to be solid. Kyle Shanahan just good at scheming in an offense. And as long as we don't have pressure on Brock Purdy, which we clearly didn't really, the entire game, they're just gonna use their offensive weapons to just go down the field on us. And what happens when you unfortunately are losing a lot of stuff on your front D? We did make a trade, which we'll get to in a little bit, on how that will kind of impact, which I don't think it's going to be crazy, but all right,
We got to go to commercial break here,
commercial break.
Kevin. All right,
Yes,
we'll be
we
right
are
back after
we
this
are
word from our
sponsors.
sponsor. Yeah,
Yes.
sponsors and a word from our advertisers as well.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of our sponsors for sponsoring this podcast. But we are back on Washington East to West Sports. If you want to tweet at us, go ahead. I'm at Matt. Sean is at NastyBilly22. Kevin is at SEA2Believe. That's C2Believe on X or Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Tell us what you think of the topics we talk about in the comments below. Let's get back to our talk about the Seahawks. And Sean, I'm going to throw it to you. What did you think of these last two games?
Last two games. The Giants is obviously incredibly disappointing. My thought is every team loses like those type of games every year. I my, our mom was over Matthew, and I phrased it this way. I said, "Who's the best team?" Like, okay, Kevin and Matthew, who was the best team last year in football? It
Uh,
doesn't have to be the team who won, just the best
in
team. Who do you think the best team was?
The
in my opinion,
49ers.
it is the
Okay,
49ers.
okay. Did the 49ers go 16-0 or 17-0?
No.
The best team
Mhm.
doesn't always win the game because you have to play. That's why you play the game. You do the things. All teams will lose to an inferior team at some point. It will happen. The Chiefs lose every year. There's no undefeated team. Hell, even the Patriots almost went undefeated and lost to the Giants, who they were clearly better than. But that's why you play the game. I don't want to blow it all up because of one game, and it looked rough. I will say this: like, if you told us, I think all of us here, 6 games in the season, I think we all would have said our record's going to be 3-3. The people just don't like how we got to the 3-3, and that's kind of the whole narrative and how we got here and everything like that. Which I get, but like again, at the end of the day, it's a narrative. We were supposed to be 3-3, and we're 3-3. We are a perfectly average NFL team, and we are probably a perfectly average NFL team coming into this. We lost to the Detroit Lions, who with Ben Johnson and that O line are just a juggernaut. They're just. Did you just see what they did to the Dallas Cowboys? We also lost to the 49ers, who we've talked about. They've been to what, 4 NFC Championship games in a row or something like that? Four or
Mhm.
whatever their streak is or whatever it is. Almost went to, they probably go to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls or 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls if they're not running Christian McCaffrey out at quarterback against the Eagles one year. I mean, those are probably, as Kevin said too, when we had super crazy injuries to our defense, those are the two teams you say like, when healthy, that's the teams you don't those are the most dangerous offenses in totality with talent and OCs. Because like you could say like Andy Reid is probably a better OC right now than a play caller than Ben Johnson is. Maybe not Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan might be the best, but Kyle Shanahan is the best play caller and has a juggernaut of like Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. Brock Purdy's playing pretty well, just to clear, and a good O line. So like that's a juggernaut. They're gonna score 30 points or 28 points. That's just what the 49ers do, other than if they have a bad game. And we were down players. It's just what's gonna happen. Kevin said it. We were probably gonna lose that game by 10 points. And we lost it by 14 points. And that actually lowered our losses against them over the last 5 games. We were averaging 17 points a loss to them in the last 5 games since number 3 left. So like we would actually lose by more than that to them usually. So I just and then the Detroit Lions, they're like we talked about it. Ben Johnson's been the number 1 guy for 2 years in a row because he's having like double screen slants to Penei Sewell for fun in the third quarter against the Dallas Cowboys. Like those are 2 good teams who are healthy and have maybe 2 of the 4 best O lines in football. Like it was a bad matchup for us with a depleted D line against 2 great O lines and 2 great OCs. It was just never going to be good. And I thought, honestly, all things considered, with Kevin said, like Kevin picked Stone Forsythe. I don't know who's worse. Bradford might actually be worse. I don't know. They're just both
Oh, it's
awful.
Forsyth. Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
know. Like Pro Football
He
Focus says
he is the worst right tackle. He's the worst tackle in the league
I
as
know.
far as
And you know what the
pressures.
best part is? Anthony Bradford's the worst guard in the league. So
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
I'm like, it's a 1A, 1B. So like it's actively like just awful. And with that being said, right now, as it is constructed, I've talked about this before, it's gonna go as far as this O line's gonna take us. And right, because we just simply like we talked about it in the season, it's a rebuilding year. I know, Matthew. It's a rebuilding year. We just don't have talent on either trenches. We just don't. And we're cutting salary. We're even next year, we don't have a ton of salary space because we're just left in a bad spot from the previous regime. Half of it's still here. We'll see. There's maybe some serious John issues we can discuss later, but like, I just think that like with this O line, we've actually, and Geno Smith's played amazing with this team. We put up some real points against the 49ers, against the Detroit Lions. We hung in there with just much less talent. Like honestly, just much less talent. I feel like in totality. Maybe we have more talent in like. I think the Seahawks have better receivers than the Detroit Lions. I think
Mhm.
obviously Geno Smith is better than Jared Goff, but like at a certain point, the rest of the team talent does also matter, and it's just we're just not there yet. But we were able to hang in there. We're like a DK fumbles in the first half. If DK doesn't fumble that ball, it's a 1 score game. Like it's like we're right there with the Detroit Lions going into like the fourth quarter. So like I'm like it's right there. Like same with like you know the 49ers. We had a chance in there near the end, but then they kind of just like blew it up and we didn't score quick enough in there. And then even with the Giants, they're going to change the rule why the Giants guy jumped over the line because I don't know if you saw it. The Cleveland Browns did it this week, so like that's going to be changed because technically illegal, legal-ish. So we lose because of a faux rule. Like I'm just like
Mhm.
we're a perfectly average team. All of the stats say we're average. I have a little graph here. It's very easy to say here. Can I share my screen, Matt?
There you go.
Okay. Oh shoot. Right here. Uh, here we are. Seahawks are dead center. This is offense and defense EPA. We are 3-3, and we are boom right smack dab in the middle. And that's exactly where we should be
That's
because
crazy.
we're just okay. Everyone's talking about the sky is falling. Fire everybody. Fire Mike McDonald. 5 games
Oh,
this season. 6 games in this season. I'm like, guys, like I know the 3 win streak was like, and that's what I'm saying. Like the narrative, the 3 game win streak was like, oh my gosh, this is how we are. And I'm like, no, we didn't play anybody. We played 2 juggernauts, and we lose a game we probably should win. But every team has those, and we're still like there. And yeah, it was really frustrating. That Giants game was maddening. Like we made Daniel Jones look great, and in fantasy this week, I had to pick up Daniel Jones because there's no one else, and he looked like Daniel Jones again. I'm like, God damn it, you're still Daniel Jones. Like that was rough. But like at the end of the day, like this is who we are, and it's fine. And I have something for you. Where everyone says like, call Pete, he'll fix the defense. Here's the last 4 years or 3 years, this year included, defensive rankings for the Seahawks. I'll let you guys guess where they stand. I'll go 20, 22nd, 28th, and 18th. Which year is this year's defense? ranked?
18th. I would say
I'd say
18th.
I'd say 20th.
We're 18th this year.
Yeah.
The last three defenses have all been worse than this current defense.
Yeah. And that's with
And so
injury.
everyone's like, Paul Pete. I'm like, his defenses were worse, objectively worse than this one currently, when we just got beat up by the Giants and gave up like 1 billion points. So we're not calling him. Like, that's over. Like, that ship sailed. Like, he ran a bad defense. So, like, as bad as it is, it's still a little bit better than it is currently. So what we just, it's going to never be. Everyone's like, I saw it all the time on Twitter, like 12 wins, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it was never going to be that. It was never going to be that. We're 7-9, and we're on pace for 7-9. That's exactly where we are. That's exactly who we are. And how we got there might sway people's opinions, but this is who we are, and this is exactly where we thought we'd be after 3 games or 6 games. So it's frustrating, and we do it. But again, to reiterate, the Giants games was super crazy frustrating, but every team has a game we should win. The Seahawks were an absolute juggernaut for 4 years. With the Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson, Marshawn, we never went 16-0. We lost games we should have all won every single time. And that's just what happens sometimes. You're going to lose games you should win. And it's just calm down, Twitter. Like, yeah. I get it. And I was like, I was very mad too with everybody on Twitter. But like, at the end of the day, you're going to lose games you should win. Every team's going to. There are 2 undefeated teams. And I guarantee you they won't be undefeated at the end of the year.
What I was kind of telling people too, like, is essentially you got to realize too that he got handed this and did what he could in the offseason and a draft to kind of fix it. Like,
and Geno Smith, I saw the thing, is playing amazing. Like Kevin talked about, that right side of the defense is Stone Forsythe. I saw a stat. Stone Forsythe has 39 pressures allowed this season. The next highest is 19.
19. Mm-hmm.
No, it's 36.
36 and 19.
36 and 19. Almost double the next person in the league.
That's like, why I'm saying Jason Peters needs to just
it's a sieve on this. There is Cross, who's not even playing great. He is like, I saw like
he's playing
SAS total points. He is about the 32nd ranked tackle. So he's basically like perfectly average. I would say he's a little better. He's just had a rough couple weeks of it, but like he is probably slightly above average. Good player. And Williams is a solid NFL center. And other than that, the 3 other players are awful. And the fact that Geno Smith's not dead is just like a testament. Well, we're putting points.
Yeah. And Kenneth Walker too. Like,
yeah, and I'm like,
you gotta give powers to Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker. But like, that's the point, Kevin, too, where everyone in the Giants game's like, run the ball. I'm like, it's not going to, I'm going to do a swear, fucking work. Because if you can't pass block or run block, Kenneth Walker's not going to go anywhere. Like, and at least Geno Smith, because like the running back is their success is always determinant on the O-line first. If the O-line's not blocking, it doesn't matter if you got Super Son and X-Men back there. They're not going to get yards. That is how this works. If O-line do not block, running backs do not. That's the whole running backs do not matter thing. The most important thing for running back success is O-line blocking. And if it doesn't block, it's not going to work. And so, but the thing is, Geno Smith can make things happen by extending plays on his own more often than running backs can. And so the way that it was going to work, are you going to run straight at Dexter Lawrence one-on-one with Anthony Bradford? How is that going to go? How would that have gone against the Giants? Like, everyone's like, we only ran it 5 times. Yeah, we could have probably ran it like 9 times, but it still would have sucked. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're like, we need to run more. The one that's probably going to work more is passing at this point, because we just simply don't have the guys to block for Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet. Yep. The funniest thing is, according to total points, added SIS total points, the 2 most efficient running backs are Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and that includes based on what they have to work with. So what they have to work with, they actually do very well, both of those running backs. The problem is it just doesn't look good on Sundays because it's not a lot to work with. But you give them an okay line, those 2 running backs will actually do very well. But we just don't even have an okay line at this point. And running, it's kind of like what the problem with the end of the PK there with Russell Wilson. It's the I call it the Mike Zimmer in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. Why Kirk Cousins got such a bad rap in Minnesota? It was they would run it twice in the line. It'd be like 39 over and over, and they're like, Geno, bail us out. And I'm like, that's why like this running game is not going to work with how bad this is, and it's not a Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet thing. It's an O-line thing. So they're like, just run it more. I'm like, God, so we can go 3rd and long over and over more when we know, like to Kevin's point, like they're like, let's run it more. I'm like, so we can be 3rd and 9 against this D-line of the 49ers? That seems like a terrible idea. Like, I don't want to be 3rd and 9 with Nick Bosa coming off the edge against Stone Forsythe. That's a recipe to get him killed. let Geno Smith throw earlier in the downs and maybe make it manageable. And then if it's like 2nd and 4, then you can kind of run, do things. But if you run it right off the rip or do something, you're going to be pinned back. And the 49ers, all their guys are going to be like, let's get them. And you have no one to block for Geno Smith. And I'm like, that's how you get your guy killed, by running a ton. So unfortunately, you kind of have to run less to make the offense actually work, because it's the running games. You have to pick and choose your battles with this run game because it's so bad up front. It's just so bad up front, and it's unfair to Kenneth Walker and it's unfair to Zach Charbonnet. But that's the reality in which we live in right now. And to Kevin's point, play Peters, play somebody. Like these guards need to be changed.
Yes.
I don't even know who to play at right tackle, but like I like, because Jason Peters is trying out for guard, and so like I don't. Yeah, he's going to play for practice.
He's played tackle before. Just put him at tackle.
Yeah, no, but he came back to play. He's here to play guard because he's going to take Bradford's job. So like I don't know what you do, but like to Kevin's point, Abe Lucas better come back, because it's not working, and it's never gonna. So everyone's like, Geno's terrible. We need to run it more. Like, none of this will work if you just don't have 4-5 guys that can block anybody, and that's where we're at this point. So give Geno, Grubbs came and run his offense. You can't run his ideal offense when they don't have NFL players blocking. They just don't have. They have 2 NFL guys blocking right now out of the 5, and that's just what it is. And I was hoping it'd be a little better than this, but it's just not. So kudos to Geno Smith for actually playing super well with what he has to work with. So yeah.
Yeah, the 2 games, the Giants one, of course, I mean, I'm with all Seahawks fans. That was disappointing. Of course, we should beat the Giants,
Yeah.
but for how bad they were playing, they almost tied it, other than the blocked field goal. So obviously I don't like to lose, but it could have been a lot worse, actually. So, they had a field goal to tie, and then, I'm sure I'm like most people who thought that was a penalty,
Yeah, I
for
thought it was
jumping over
penalty.
the line. But apparently it's legal. So
Well, the jumping
that's
is legal. It's the whole
it's the
holding.
holding. Yeah,
block.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah,
holding him down. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the penalty. Yeah.
yeah. So you saw Myles Garrett do it this past week.
Yeah.
So I would be, well, I might not be entirely shocked, but I don't see why other special teams coordinators, all of them, don't try
Yeah.
and do this as
It's
well.
2 for 2.
It's
It's
too
2 for 2.
easy.
But
Like
yeah.
you
Yeah.
easily could have a guy. You easily have a guy on your team that can jump the line. Easy, no problem, and could
And all
block
you
it.
need, is
And
just 2 guys on one side to hold the guard and the center down, and then just one guy jump over between them, and
and
that's it. That's all it really takes.
I was talking to my former editor at the Journal, and he's like, "Yeah, you have sour grapes." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but do you guys remember when Cam Chancellor did it back-to-back plays? That's what I thought of." And I think they called him on a penalty the second time, and then the first one it was
But it was Bobby who did it back to back.
no, it was
No,
Cam.
it's Cam
Oh,
against the Panthers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Bobby also did it, but the one Matthew's talking about is the Panthers, where he did
yeah.
back to back.
Oh, and I forgot about the Bobby one too. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so if you want to block field goals, this seems like the way to do it. So, the Giants game, very disappointing. And I'm glad I don't get on Twitter on Seahawks game days, because that sounds awful what you guys
Oh,
read.
it's
But
absolutely toxic.
I would say that obviously the defense and the offense can improve from both these games. I feel like they're playing a lot of soft zone, and I'm not sure why they're playing a lot of soft zone. Maybe it worked in the first few games, but it seemed like the Giants game that those linebackers were dropping, and there was just so much underneath room, and then Daniel Jones had time. Like, we were missing a lot of defensive pieces, especially up front, and we couldn't get pressure, and somehow Daniel Jones picked us apart. So that's pretty disappointing.
Why is essentially because you're not getting pressure, so you can't do man to man with your corners staying on them for that long. You
We
can't
talked
expect
about
Yeah,
it
yeah,
in the Lions game.
Yeah.
Jared Goff averaged basically
Yeah.
4 yards a drop back.
You're essentially just, if you
Ever.
do man to man, you're
Yeah.
telling your corners that you need to be stuck on that receiver all the way for 6 seconds, and that's just
Yeah, it's
you
impossible.
can't.
It's impossible in the
Yeah,
NFL.
that's why
yeah.
that's why they're doing zone right now, because they're injured and they can't get to the quarterback. That's essentially why you're seeing more zone.
I'd like to see him play a bit more man. Obviously, you need some healthy defensive backs to do
Yeah.
that.
You gotta get pressure.
Yeah, you gotta get
Yep.
pressure as well.
They just put Burns
So
on the IR. I don't
yeah,
know if you guys saw that. They called
well,
Artie
they
Burns.
called him up.
Be a replacement for injuries. He goes on the IR. So
Yeah,
when it rains, it pours, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tough ask for defense, and frankly, like I don't see what you guys see on Twitter, but I don't. I'm sure there was a unrealistic expectation that Mike McDonald was to come in and make this defense exactly what the Ravens was, and they're going to be amazing and all that sort of stuff.
It was
And that's
tank.
just
And it
it.
was
That's
it was
just
it was 3-0 too. It was
yeah.
the 3-0,
Okay.
and they were like,
And that's
I'm
just
like, guys,
crazy. Like, it's not the same personnel, and he's a first year head coach, and
yeah,
he's not only it's like there's so many different things to where
you
that
you
is a
you
crazy
play you
expectation.
play Bo Nix, a guy who's been benched, and we talked about Miami's quarterback. Like you didn't play anybody, and you
Yeah,
did what you're supposed to do, but like you played the two juggernauts after that. It's what it is.
yeah. So defensively, of course they can get better, and on one hand, of course, having injuries is not great, but on the other hand, hopefully some guys that are behind these other starters can get some experience and maybe down the road, if they're called upon again, they can improve upon what their performance has been these last few games. Offensively, I do think, obviously I do agree with Kevin. You need to take what the defense gives you. I think the run game is something that needs to be a lot more creative, and obviously there are O-line issues, so it's not going to be a simple solution. But I think you can be more creative as opposed to just turning around and handing the ball to Kenneth Walker and expecting that to work. You've got to do something to
Well,
get going side to side, and
I like to
also
screen. I like to screen to Kenneth Walker.
a
Like
screen. That's a de
they're
facto
gonna
run,
come. They're gonna
definitely.
get
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah,
Yeah, yes. Throw it over the top because they're just flying. Dude,
yeah.
just beat them over the top a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
can throw it to Tyler on the outside and let, DK and whoever block for a bit on the outside, find some ways to get guys in space and run, so to speak,
but
because you can't just turn and hand the ball
here's
off
the
and not expect
problem.
Bosa to be there. Yeah.
But the problem, though, that you have right now, and we'll talk about it, is DK. DK wants the ball and he wants to go further. Like when he hopped on the headset, you know what he said, right?
I know. Yeah. I throw the ball past the
Can we
sticks.
throw the past the sticks? No,
Yeah.
but that's DK not knowing football. That's what's scary because DK needs to know that you can't throw it past the sticks when you can't block. Like he needs to know that the right side of his line is a hot pile of trash. Like, no, you cannot throw it past the sticks
I understand
when
what
you
you're
don't
saying,
have time.
what
Like,
you're saying, Kevin, but I also think part of it is the frustration of losing for him as well. And I think that
you just need to man up.
if they all play better as an offense, then those frustrations will be there. Obviously, you've got to keep your
Yeah,
emotions in check
yeah.
as DK, but at the same time,
That's
I
been a DK issue
yeah.
forever.
Yeah,
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 I
and he
want a
needs to
guy who
grow.
wants the ball, but also he's going to have to recognize that you're just not going to get the ball every time. So, when it comes to the offense as a whole, yes, the offensive line is an issue. Is there a solution? Is Jason Peters going to be a solution? I'm not entirely sold on that.
no.
It's
No.
better
He's
than what we got going
42 and
right
he's a
I
big
now.
mean,
man,
it's
but
the gif of it of the what is it the movie the This Is the End where he puts the duct tape over the giant crack in the concrete. I mean, it could be a little better, but is it gonna fix it?
yeah, yeah, it's
Just put the duct tape on
you
there.
know,
Like,
I kind of see it as like a pull the goalie and change the goalie out and see if that gets them going. Like throw Jason Peters in there, see what happens.
it
Like,
can't be
um,
worse.
is Christian Hayes just not an option? Like, what
I
is the
don't
deal
know.
with that? I would,
I don't know.
you
I don't know.
drafted him with the highest draft pick. I don't see the harm in throwing him out there because frankly, it can't get a whole lot worse. I don't think so. I want to see something change there to where you're like trying to find something that works. Maybe
He
there
is
just
active.
isn't. But if that's the case, and Stone and Bradford are your starters, keep Charbonnet over there. Like at least give Gino something to stop the people coming at him from the right side. Because I know he likes that outlet because he checks it down quite a bit, especially because there is a lot of pressure all the time. And your Charbonnets and your Walkers are generally going to be up in the flat or just a little curl route right in the middle. So, if there's a way you can move protection a little bit and hopefully give Gino a little more time, Gino's been good. Those two interceptions against San Francisco, the first one, what a drive killer. You start with the ball, you overthrow, believe it was Tyler, and just that's just a bad throw. Now, pressure in your face, so it's not entirely like his fault for making that kind of throw, but at the end of the day, that is still a throw on you, Gino. So the second one, that was I've seen different videos of people saying it's the route and all that. I'm not entirely sure what
No one
the
really
issue was
is.
on that.
No,
Huh?
only people in the room know what that we know what the
Yeah.
issue is.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it it,
I'd say let's say
it looks
1A,
like
1B. It's
yeah,
50-50. It's DK Gino,
yeah,
50-50.
yeah. So both were at fault there. And as Kevin said in the 49ers game, like they shot themselves in the foot too much. Like you can't go down 23-3 in the second half and expect to win the game. You made a solid comeback to get yourself in the game, and you had the ball down six with 7 minutes to go, and then
Yeah.
Gino throws the pick and it's over basically.
Yeah.
So they scored late to cut it once again, and then Isaac Guerrero runs 71 yards, and now it's definitely over.
Yeah.
So, they put themselves in positions to win and just couldn't close. So I don't see what you guys see on Twitter. Like the sky's not falling. Like this team is fine. Like this team could have easily won the 3 games it lost. There's just things that just kind of didn't go their way. Like the DK fumble was probably the biggest momentum shift in that Detroit Lions game. You take that away, who knows what happens? And then you're a block field goal away from tying the game. So who knows what happens there if they actually convert that? And then you give up 13 points on turnovers against the 49ers, and then you're actually up by one if you take that away. But obviously, that's not necessarily what would happen. So I'm not worried about this team at all. And as Sean said, like this is pretty much where I thought they'd be. Like I'm not surprised either way. I think this team can play better than it has the last 2 games, like no question about it. But you got to be healthy, and hopefully this longer bye week is going to help because you've got time to get guys back. I saw Byron Murphy was practicing today, so that's good news
I
there.
think that's a good point too, Matthew. All of these rough games were in 10 days. They played three games per in 10 days. Like
Yeah.
that's a factor too. That's a
So
lot of games in 10
yeah,
days.
that's a lot of games, and they've got time now to get healthy. They do go on the road and play Atlanta, which we'll get to in a little bit, but you know overall, I'm not upset from where this team is at. Obviously, the 3-0 start, you hoped it would get better than that, but for them to lose 3 in a row, I'm not entirely surprised because, as we mentioned, the level of opponents they played in the first 3 weeks was not great. And also, there have just been little things that they like this. I think this team, if it fires well enough, can beat any team, but they constantly seem to shoot themselves in the foot. So it's if they figure something out, especially with the O line, I think this offense can get going and win some games. But I'm not going to bet on that happening. That's for sure.
I think that shooting yourself in the foot is just also another way of just like you don't have the talent to make up for the stuff. You just don't have like the 49ers didn't play great, but they still won the game because they just have the talent. They're like, oh, we'll be fine. The Seahawks like kind of have to play much more perfect than their opponents do sometimes because they just don't have as much talent as we said, the 49ers and the Lions as it is in total. They just don't have as much yet. And so that's their margin. Their margin is smaller. They have to play a little bit better than the other teams do. They can afford to make some mistakes because they know they have these guys that can do it. So
All right.
also I
Well,
want to say I want to say the Debo touchdown was actually a mistake. Brock Purdy underthrew that ball and
no,
Love
I
just
actually threw
got
that perfect because Julian would have gotten over
well,
had he
yeah,
thrown
like
it
I was gonna
further.
say, like it was actually like if he's actually throws it good, it's actually a pick, and he actually did not intentionally threw it under, and it actually worked out better for them. So
I mean, I think the
sometimes
49ers played a pretty good game. They didn't have any turnovers. They stopped the
they played
Seahawks.
well. That's the 49ers. It's a juggernaut. It's an offensive juggernaut. That's just it's Kyle Shanahan. We better get used to it because they're gonna be in the division. He's gonna be in the division for a long time, unfortunately. Yeah, he's really good.
I hope
Christian McCaffrey hasn't played, and they're still really good at running the ball. It's weird how that works.
I
Yeah.
hope they pay Brock Purdy. Do it. All right. Let's
Brock's been
talk.
pretty good. I'm terrified.
Not at all. All right. Seahawks traded for defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris from the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday. They gave up a 2026 sixth round pick. Harris is 30. Robertson Harris, sorry, is 31, 6'5", 290. Spent his first 5 seasons in Chicago and then has been with Jacksonville since 2021. He has 19 sacks, 26 tackles for loss, and 106 career games. So, Sean, big deal, little deal, no deal?
Little deal. He's depth. That's it. He's I don't even I think this is more of like I think between Byron Murphy and Big Cat they're nicked up and they might miss more games in the near future and I think he's just a we need a NFL body to play tackle, and that's it with Jaron Reed. So that's what this move is.
Kevin?
Yeah, he's essentially depth. Because Leonard and Byron are kind of starters, and then also all the other stuff on the outside. So as Sean said, he's just kind of better than what you've seen out. Like essentially, we got a taste of like what our depth already was, and Mike McDonald didn't like it, so he's like, I need to, you know, do something because we're still going into week 7 of 18, so there's probably going to be more injuries down the line. So it's just depth to kind of add to it. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a depth piece and hopefully a healthy body for I need wood. Where's wood? A healthy body for the rest of the year. And someone who can hopefully kind of stuff the run because they just kind of just get gashed in the run game so hard. So hopefully that will help out a little bit and we'll see how he slots into that lineup. Let's I'll ask you guys about some other league observations. Anything you want to mention that you've been seeing as the games you were watching? Kevin, anything?
Everybody in the NFC North is positive at the moment. That's weird.
We
It
thought
was
they were going to be
not
kind of good
expected.
division, right? Thought it was going to be a good division.
Yeah, everybody thought it was going to be a great division. Yeah, yeah.
You
Nobody
didn't think
expect.
you didn't think so? I thought it was going to be the
Well,
best
No,
division in
I
football.
didn't.
going in, the Vikings were a question mark because they had 5 people dead to start the season. Well, no, I can't say that. Only one of them was dead. 4 of them not, 4 starter, 5 starters not playing because one of them's dead, and then 4 of them just injured. So it was kind of a question mark there. Jordan Love and them, it was just kind of like we knew Jordan Love was good, but it's kind of like when there's tape on him, do we know? And it's
Packers and Lions, we knew were going to be good.
yeah, Packers
Minnesota was
as a
like
team are okay. It's just the whole not knowing with Jordan Love, and Jordan Love's kind of stepped up to prove that even like
it was
while
just it was
injured.
just more what were you Minnesota was what you were going to get out of Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell again, modern NFL coaches. Why you get young offensive
Mhm.
guys? There you go.
Now,
He's
Detroit,
really
yes, I expected to be good. And then the Bears with Caleb, like with rookie, we don't really know. Plus, that O-line is still growing, and the defense was kind of a question mark. So the Bears were kind of like, you know, but also the Bears have had an
well
easier
the
schedule.
yeah, and the Bears went as far as Caleb goes, and Caleb started kind of rough, and then has got good, and they won some games. So that's exactly what happened. As they'll go as far as Caleb goes.
Yeah.
So and yeah, they're all above 500. Yeah, they thought they were going to be probably the best team in division football. Because every other division has like a couple duds at least. Because it used to be the AFC North, but thanks to Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns are toast. So yeah, I think it was going to be the best division in football.
Yeah, the AFC East kind of was more in my well, this is before Tua, and
The
then
Patriots still play in that division.
yeah, I know. But I'm saying with
They were always going to be
Aaron
bad.
Rodgers coming back, but then Aaron Rodgers has kind of been doing, who knows?
Well,
That was more
hey,
of my
at least Nathaniel Hackett got demoted, so there you go.
God.
There you go.
But no,
So, he
everything
was
is
the problem, just so everybody knows.
yeah. I didn't the thing that really surprised me is just the Rams. But
Yeah.
who knows what that
Well,
will kind of
the Rams is we talked about it. The Rams are just destroyed with injuries right now. They're just destroyed.
yeah.
So
Cooper
now
Cup is supposed to be back by week
I think
possibly.
he's supposed to be back this week, if I'm not
He's
mistaken.
they have a
questionable though.
bye. They have a bye this week, don't they?
Yeah,
No, they don't. It was last
no,
week.
the bye was this past
Oh,
week
last
Yeah.
week. Last week.
because
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford was on Fox.
Yes. Yeah. He'll be. So he and I think Puka's still there, but they still don't have any of their O line yet. I don't know. One of their guys is not suspended anymore, so they should have a starter finally back. So they'll have a starter finally, not entire backup O line. So
Sean, any observations?
the defenses ruled the roost early, and the offenses are finally clicking, and there's some points being scored. So
Isn't it
we'll
like the
still act.
lowest scoring season
It
still?
was.
Oh, it's not
Maybe it
anymore?
was, but it's catching up. Yeah, it's catching up. There's a bunch of. We just had a what is a 90-point game last week. Like the Tampa Bay and the Saints didn't play any defense. So it's and then with Thursday night game, the Seahawks scored 24 and lost. The Lions just put up 50. So I just their offenses are coming back.
Mhm. I can't say there
Commanders were
was no
surprising, but
offense in that game
um,
or no defense, but because there was
what's
three
up?
picks. I was about to say I can't say there was no defense in that game because there was four picks total in that whole game, but
Which game?
in the Saints Bucks, but
Oh, yeah, but a pick is like,
points, yeah, I get, score preventing the other team from scoring. Yes.
yeah, they were just doing whatever they basically wanted, other than a couple tips and things like that. But I guess the one surprise, I'm just surprised how big the Jags are. Like, I thought they'd be a little better.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd
Yeah,
be
I
like
don't
I thought
world
they'd be
beaters, but
better.
they're just
Yeah,
what's up?
I thought they'd be better. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they'd be. I didn't think they'd be world beaters, but I thought they wouldn't be this bad.
They've had a lot of very dropped, from what I've been told, they've had a lot of dropped passes that shouldn't be dropped. And other than the kid that they drafted this year, can you name another receiver?
Brian Thomas
That,
Jr., Christian
that's the
Kirk,
Ridley,
kid that's the kid they
Christian
drafted.
Christian Kirk,
Christian Kirk.
Ridley,
Oh,
Ridley.
okay. Yeah,
Ridley's not there anymore.
Yeah,
no,
they had.
Ridley's not there. But
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, yeah. So I
Zay
mean,
Jones is gone.
Etienne's been hurt and then also been kind of playing like butthole.
yeah, but he's a running back
The
Evan
too.
Ingram.
backup. Yeah.
I mean,
And then,
Ingram came back though. He did miss basically the whole year, so
yeah.
this is his first game. But that's what I'm saying. Well, their schedule also wasn't super easy. It was Dolphins with Tua lost. They lost to the Browns. That was kind of like, but then they lost to the Bills. They lost to the Texans, beat the Colts, and then they lost to the Bears with CJ Stroud playing well. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean they maybe should have beat the Browns, but that's it. They should maybe be 2-4, but they have had a ringer of a schedule so far. So teams are finally going to play in their division too. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like teams have not played in their division. That's why everyone's like, man, all NFC North is this. And they're all above 500. I'm like, none of them play each other. They're all like, are all four teams going to make it? I'm like, they have not played each other. They will all have to play each other. They will all beat each other up. That's what happens. So
Starts
it'd be
this week.
crazy. But what's up?
Starts this week.
Yeah. Teams are starting to finally play each other. But yeah, it's
I, I'd say my biggest observation, well, my favorite observation is Aaron Rodgers just not having a good time in New York. That is
I
a
needed the
very good
pick to win my
observation.
fantasy matchup. I needed my pick to win the fantasy matchup. I was going to lose, and then he threw the pick, and I won. So
Oh,
I'm really,
really? He
yeah.
is very lucky with these Hail Marys. He has four,
I
and no
I
one
was
else
going to
has
lose
two.
because
That's
the
pretty
Bills
crazy.
kicker missed that extra point. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
And did you see the running back was wide open for a first
Yeah.
down
Yep.
on the play?
Wide
Yep.
open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
But
Well, we're running out of time here. Let's do some quick predictions. So Seattle, Atlanta, 10 a.m. on Fox. Atlanta is a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 51.5. I'm going to start on this one. Seahawks have had a nice break. Atlanta is playing pretty well lately. I do think the Seahawks bounce back though. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to take the over on the 51.5. And boy, score wise, I think it's going to be a lot of points. I don't think there's going to be much defense. I'm going to say 34-30 Seahawks. Sean?
uh, yeah, I'm going to go with Seahawks too. Actually, it's going to be high scoring. Same with Matthew. You said 34-30.
Yeah, I'm taking over 51.5. That's
Oh
what I
yeah,
would
for
do.
sure.
Yeah.
I am too. I go 28-31 Seahawks.
Kevin?
Oh man, this is tough. Um,
We got 3 minutes, Kevin. We got two games to pick.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna say Falcons, and I don't think it goes 51. I'm gonna say I'll say 28-20
All right.
Falcons.
Buffalo at Seattle. Probably won't get to it for our next podcast. So Buffalo at Seattle, 1 p.m. the following Sunday. I I don't think they're going to beat Josh Allen. So I don't have a line because I don't want to pull a line that's 2 weeks away. But I they did just trade for Mari Cooper. That should help quite a bit. Um, Buffalo's been pretty hot and cold, but I think they're going to
I was
get
gonna
the
say
win.
they,
It's
they
going to be
could beat
close.
anybody, but then they
Yeah.
lose stupid
It,
games. So
uh,
which Bills do you get is basically what it is.
I think Josh Allen will lead them to victory regardless. I think it's going to be the defense on Buffalo is not great. I'm going to go 28-24 Buffalo. Sean?
I'll go yeah, Buffalo. I'll do 31-28. You saw the Bills. Bills look unstoppable in that first half and then score 3 points in the second half. They're even a microcosm within the game. They're like, we're super good. We beat anybody. We beat the Patriots, and then we're like, we'll lose to the Browns. Like it's just which Bills shows up. Basically, it's not up to Seattle. It's up to what Bills show up. So, but I think the Bills do enough, like Matthew said, to pull it out.
Kevin?
I think this is going to be Murder Fest 2024. With Josh Allen getting 4 seconds in the pocket, I say it's 40-17 Bills.
Oh,
I think this is going to be we're going to get snuff filmed. Yeah.
I just don't think the Bills are
wow.
consistent enough.
I think
I
Amari
just
All
Cooper
right.
adds to it, and with Josh Allen getting 4 seconds in the pocket, yeah, it's just going to be Murder Fest.
Yeah, but Josh Allen will like do some dumb stuff sometimes. Like that's why I'm like, you always think it's gonna be a blowout, and then Josh Allen's like, man, like, and he just gives you something.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I was gonna put you on camera, girl. All right. Well, go ahead and tweet us. I'm at underscore Matt. Sean is at NastyBilly22. Kevin is at SEA2Believe. That's C2Believe on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Tell us what you think of the topics we talk about in the comments below. We will probably be back in a couple weeks. We'll talk some Kraken hockey. We'll see if the Sounders are still in the playoffs. Probably no Mariners, and then we'll see how the Seahawks have done in their past two games. So with that, we will see you next time on Washington, East to West Sports. Bring back our Sonics. Seriously. See that game in Seattle?
Mhm.